Up next, we got Saddam. How do we get Osama? In the first interview, since his software helped capture Saddam, we'll meet the CEO of i2, a company providing software solutions to give investigators and analysts the power to gather and interpret vast amounts of field data, and from that, quickly draw actionable conclusions. CEO of the company when we continue. We're back. The key weapon in the hunt for Osama is not a gun or a helicopter or heat-detecting instruments of anything. It's a piece of forensic accounting software that also helped bag Saddam Hussein and the hacker who wrote the love bug internet virus. Made by i2 of Virginia, it lets investigators turn huge volumes of data into actionable intelligence. Joining us first on CNBC since Saddam's capture is the president of i2, Jack Rice, or Reese, I don't know which. Which is it?
Reese.
Okay. Is there any way to explain in layman's terms what the software does?
Yes, in fact, i2 has been in the business of producing analytical, or if you like, investigative software for more than 13 years now. And it is essentially in use by virtually every investigative or major investigative organization around the world. Primarily what we do is take huge amounts of information, as you indicated, and turn it into a pictorial representation, if you like, weeding out the unimportant information and presenting the real intelligence that can then be acted upon in a format that is readily discernible by the user. If you want to take...
Well, let me interrupt you for just a second. Okay, the software weeds out irrelevant or unimportant information. I assume it has some sort of algorithms or something that it uses to make those decisions?
The software does some of that, and the individual that uses it does some of that. If you take, for example, the specific case of Saddam Hussein, as we well know, he had a large number of affiliates and associates, the infamous deck of cards as an example. Plus, he had a large family representation.
Right.
So the issue then is, if someone like that goes into hiding, the highest degree of likelihood is that someone trusted or someone within the family is shepherding him somewhere. So how do you mentally discern all of those connections and links between and among all of those various entities and people? The way you do that is you create a visual representation of the associations between them in a single picture. And then it becomes readily and easily discernible by even a layman. And once you have that, then you begin to work from the outer edges to determine whether or not any of those individuals are relevant to that particular investigation. And over time, you whittle the number down to a manageable number and eventually find one that leads you to the source.
Okay. Seth?
Yeah, it seems to me like what you're doing here is, if you remember old FBI movies where you've got pictures of criminals on a family tree, you're doing this and digitizing it and then trying to create the relationships through the software?
That's essentially correct, Seth. I mean, this whole process got started back with the assassination of Robert Kennedy, when in fact charts began to be drawn and connections made via the development of links between and among people that were involved in the activity. Well, that process became popularized subsequently, but it was manual at that point. I, too, believe that there was a means of, as you say, digitizing that or automating it in a fashion that could dramatically facilitate the process. And what we have seen today is, through industry statistics, crime resolution processes being facilitated by as much as 20–25% by the use of these types of technologies.
Can we expect to see this type of software used in Homeland Security, as we have, the links of Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups moving themselves into the United States?
Yes, in fact, the software is currently in use by Homeland Security. Many of the agencies, the Border Patrol, Customs, Naturalization Services, and so forth, currently utilizes the software, and we will continue to see expanded use of its capability over time.
You have any plans to become a publicly traded company?
Well, we've been in business for 13 years. We have been bootstrapped since inception. The company has been virtually continuously profitable. We've been growing at rates compounded at nearly 40% a year. I presume at some point in time we'll look to determine what kind of value we've created here, but there are no imminent plans to take the company public.
And are there uses for your software which you can imagine or conceptualize, to which it is not yet used? In other words, do you have markets that you think should be using your software that aren't?
There's vast application for the software. You know, I talked about the intelligence community, both at the federal and state and local law enforcement arenas, but there is also significant opportunity in the commercial sector. In fact, there are applications for the software today, in use today, in terms of analyzing financial fraud, identity theft. There are subsequent applications in the area of patent analysis, various legal issues related to M&A activities, board efficacy, and things of that nature to which we will see the software put in the future.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Jack Reese, president of I2, coming up later.